I'm having a cup of tea. Thierry's got the traveller in his hands. I've got the main sheet and a cup of tea. And Martin has got the J1 in his hand. Currently doing 20 knots. And also Thierry's on the phone. This is Thierry with his family.
Yeah.
Having a great time. So Thierry's one of my heroes. He's been helping me with the electronics and the kids smashing away. Look at that. The new generation.
Well, you do exercise with this a little bit, no?
Now you see why I work out the forearms, eh?
For the motorway.
Hammering along.
Okay. There we go.
Just the wind. So at the moment I'm here with Benjamin, and Benjamin is the after sales gentleman for ORC Catamarans and Marston Composites. And Benjamin is here on board just finishing off some bits and pieces, and I'm going to turn the camera around the other way in a second and show you a little bit about what Benjamin's doing. So Benjamin, why don't you show us what's going on here?
Well, I was replacing a pump which was not working, and I had to modify the hoses and the wiring, which was not great to me, and I was almost ready to test it. Maybe try it in live.
Yeah, and it's because I put a camera in your face that you're not able to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the purpose of this pump was one of my own ideas, which was basically for the maintenance of the air conditioning, which actually sits down under this floorboard and on against this panel here. The air conditioning's there. So what my idea was, that you can see Benjamin holding the pipe in your hands, very similar to what I've done in Carry On, which is just a very simple pump with a filter, pre-filter, which once you switch it on allows you to get the very last bits of water and helps with the maintenance of the system, because we all know marine air conditioning, it uses the salt water for the maintenance, and every so often you have to clean out the filters from the sea life. So Benjamin's just being an absolute hero and fixing that all up for me, making sure everything's working great. And we've been talking a little bit about a fuel polish system which is set up as well. And Benjamin is probably going to test that later on once we get some time. Maybe not today, perhaps tomorrow, but definitely in the future. Thanks, Ben. So Benjamin, tell me what you were just saying to me there now.
Well, when I need to connect cables with shrinkable like this ones, I always use more cable to make a round with tie wraps like this. This way the connectors won't be never pulled, and only the wire will pull on itself, but not the connectors, so the connections are safe. And this is the same way here.
Okay.
And it would be easier also if you have to redo the connection, you will have more cable and it would be easier to access.
And you were suggesting to use these type of connectors here.
Yeah, those ones.
And so these are basically, once you put the heat on them, they're waterproof and waterproof connectors.
Like this.
You can use a heat gun as well.
A bit long to react, but... And they are soft, and they put some glue around the wire, so it's completely watertight.
Okay, perfect. One of the other advantages of doing the cables like you suggest over here is that the condensation that may run down the cable also drops down into the bilge rather than lying on the cable itself.
And I always link them with a cable which is not cut. This way the protection will also save the connectors.
Oh, I see what you mean. So
Because if you pull on the wire, only the tie wraps and the protection of the wire will be pulled on, and the connectors are still loose.
I see what you mean. So you put the cable tie on, you cable tie onto wires that are not cut already, so that the strength, there's no danger that they're going to be pulled.
Yeah.
Genius. Genius. Well, thanks for that tip.
Double safety.
Many more to come. Thanks a lot, Ben. Good to go. So Yuan from Muscle and Composites here is just patching up a little bit of a repair, and I thought it would be great for you guys to see the master at work, because this is a skill that is actually very, very difficult to do. And the reason one is doing this work is because we've moved part of the anti-capsize system to be more effective. And we've moved the anti-capsize system here next to the winch and in another location just to be perfect. And as a result, we've left some small holes which need to be dressed up. And there's been a bit of epoxy before this stage. And you can see what he's done. He's done like a hash marking with tape. Now, at the moment, the gel coat's going on across the top. So you can see the screw holes are here. There was one there, and you'll see he's just about to pull the tape off. But later on, I'm going to show you the next stage of how he's done it. What I think is quite interesting personally is that he's used the guide, so there's less gel coat going on and making the job messy. So he's going to let it dry a little bit, pull the tape off, and then start the sanding down basically, and then the polishing. One was just pulled off the tape, and so that's what it looks like when he's pulled the tape off. So there's now a fraction of the work, the fairing work, the sanding down and post work. So he's just marked it out. So he's going to let that dry and then sand it back, probably mostly by hand. Just standing here next to me here, but yeah, less work basically. Work smart. There's one. The pronunciation, it's very difficult. He's got Celtic blood for sure. Celtic blood, the same as myself, le même de moi. I see. C'est Irlande du Nord. Irlande du Nord. Oui, c'est moi. C'est Irlande du Nord, oui. And so yeah, the anti-capsize system. So the reason is that we basically moved the location of the anti-capsize system to be to work better. So whenever it dumps the sheet or the traveller properly. So the reparation is just done. The repair is done from where we moved these. The actuator for the anti-capsize system. So that's it. Just thought it'd be interesting to see. I just want you to see somebody who does this all day, every day, doing gel coat repair and fairing and a hard, the cosmetic repair, but making sure that it's watertight. It's not every day you have somebody that is really specialist at that on board. And I thought it'd be good for you to see how the master does it. I'm here again the next day with Yuan. And Yuan has in his hand the 240, no? 240. It's 240 grit sandpaper. And you can see that after his prep work, we've let it dry, and we just got a little bit of fairing. Now, if I just rub my hand and move away the thing, you can, apart from seeing a little fleck there that he's gonna flick up, you can actually see, you can basically barely see where there was any drill put before. Unbelievable. So yeah, absolutely incredible. So yeah, it's just hard work basically. C'est nécessaire combien de temps avec 240?
Là c'est fini, après je passe au 320.
Okay.
600, 800.
Okay, so effectively the next grit sandpaper is 320, which is 320. Après ça, it's
600.
And then 600 grit sandpaper. So it's effectively just getting finer and finer the grit of the sandpaper and just pure hard work and skill, which gets that back to be unbelievable. Like, I mean, you just can't see it from. I got my naked eye here, and then after a polish, that will get a nice shining white. So yeah, looks great. So there you go. That's how it is. So the answer is hard work. Yuan's just prepping it up for a bit of painting now, just to finish the job. to look perfect. There he is, I've got a camera in his face again. So he's just...
The plan is to put this small rope in here,
Yeah.
just to have a fixed point,
Okay.
and then we'll have this dynamo going through this padai over there,
Okay.
fixed on the seats
Right.
and locked on the cleat in here.
Okay. Wow.
This will prevent the seat to tip over.
Okay, so at the moment there's the bolts already fixed here, so the seat, if you've had a lot of weight, you can basically move the whole seat. So it's basically a safety precaution to make sure that the seat doesn't tip over basically when you're...
Yeah, and it's not that strong because it may be used as a fuse. If you missed your maneuvers, you may be able to raise the seat and to get some space on the side.
Oh, I see, when you're coming into port.
Yeah. If you have to go between two poles,
Yeah.
you may be bothered with the seats, so you will have to fold them. And if you forgot, this will break, and then you won't break your seat.
Genius. Well thought out. Thank you, Benjamin.
You're welcome.
So this is Frank. Frank's just fitting a ledge over the top of the autopilot electronics, and they're waterproof anyway. But I thought it was a good idea that just to put this waterproof ledge, basically, just to make sure the water drips down away from over the top of the electronics, just in case there's a bit of leaking or somebody leaves the hatch open or whatever. It just gives a bit of extra protection. So Frank has just basically made this ledge, let's say, and then he's just going to fix it and fasten it on just right above the autopilot and everything that's there, and gives a bit more safety. Little finishing details. The main power cable, the core from the DC batteries, so there's 1,100 amp hours on Apocalypse, and the main battery is got quite a big feed basically to the junction box, let's say, which you can kind of see down there just in front of Thierry. And what Thierry found out was we were detecting voltage when things were disconnected, apart from the battery, and they shouldn't have been like that. And what Thierry noticed is that there's basically induction of the cables running alongside each other. And yeah, it's just a massive amount of knowledge and experience. And dare I say it, Thierry, intelligence too?
Yes. Not so often, not so often.
Yeah. But from a little bit of Sherlock Holmes work, and you've managed to deduce what's going on here. So yeah, I think it's pretty interesting for everybody to see that, you know, the induction in cables is definitely a reality. We're picking up 24 volts. And detecting that by process of elimination. Thierry's going through the whole boat painstakingly, trying to remove bits from the equation. We have a leakage monitor, and you know, just it's painstaking work to have to remove each bit from the junction box to see which bits are leaking, and then try and deduce from that tributary where the problem is. So yeah, let's see how it comes along as a journey, and we'll show you what we find. This is Jacques from Iroise. You may remember Jacques because he was on board when we were doing the rigging, and on the maiden voyage we were testing the engines, and Jacques was still setting up the rigging. So he's got a business here right in the center of the sailing mecca, Lorient, and he himself has come at the end of the day on a Friday to finish off fixing up my Traveller. So I thought it might be interesting for you to see the way this is attached. So the Traveller, let's get this strong sun here, but you can see the way Jacques is lashing this on. So he's obviously done a splice. What's the millimeter of that dynamo you've done there?
That's 3 millimeters.
3 mil.
3 mil. finish.
Your knife?
Yeah, yeah.
Super.
Okay.
Job done. Super. That's how you do it, like a professional.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm here this morning with Francois just before we depart on our maiden voyage. This is Francois, and Francois is a saddler here in Lorient. And in case you don't know, saddling is the skill of manipulating textiles basically for boats. And I just wanted to catch Francois on film. He's been very kind and made some slight modifications to things like mosquito nets for us. And remember, on Apocalypse we try to keep everything very simple, but at the same time I was just saying to Francois that he's kept it simple, and at the same time there's beauty in the work that he's done. So let me show you some of the things that Francois has done. First of all, he's added the guards, so privacy screens, but they also block out the wind a little bit and some of the dust. And then we've got you know, the waterproof cushions that you've seen maybe in my previous videos from Mr. C, which was hull number 1. Of course, Apocalypse is number 2. And also this system, again, pretty simple, but we get our privacy and a little bit of a wind block as well, and so that just attaches to the lifelines at the back here. But perhaps most interestingly, with the shipyard and with Francois, I've designed something quite unique for the ORC range. And if you come across and have a look over here, what we've done is Francois has added, with his skills, we put a metal bar over the top of the seat. And obviously I'm follicularly challenged, and so I would get a burnt head, and Eva finds that after long periods she gets bad headaches from the wind in her ears. So Francois and the design team at ORC have actually helped create this. This basically, it's a cover for the helm seat. But this system that Francois has designed that I can take off, they're not Velcro now, they're buttons, but it's a very, very efficient system. And you know, we're just about to head off and actually slip the lines here from Lorient for our maiden voyage. And we're going to have a good test of this system, and it means you can spend long periods, because remember, with this type of boat, you know, you're going to be less on the autopilot purely because it's a pleasure to sail it and you're more in tune with the boat. So you want to be spending more time up here. So anyway, if you happen to be in Lorient or near La Rochelle and you're building a new boat, I highly suggest that you get in contact with Francois, and he can do any custom design that you really want, and in any material you choose as well. So anyway, I thought it'd be interesting for you guys to meet Francois. So just say cheerio to Francois here, and again, he's been working you know, the late shift last night just to make sure that we had everything ready before we head off, and he stood by his word, and he was here by 9 o'clock this morning with all the bits and pieces ready for us to go. Again, you can see these very simple mosquito nets that Francois has just returned after making some modifications, and very simple, not gonna get broken while we're in the Pacific somewhere. And yeah, so you can see Eva's holding one of them. Very simple, you just put them over these kind of mushroom things on the corners, job done. Pretty much matching the speed of the wind. G1 up. Here, that's where we go. So we just screamed across that whole passage took us just just a little bit over 24 hours. It was just about 28 hours nearly to get down, and we decided just to keep going. It was good morale. It's a bit frisky at the beginning, a bit frisky around here, and then we screamed across. Perfect conditions. You know, the wind was from the northwest, and then we got close to Coruña around about here, and then we decided the morale's pretty good on board, so we just kept going. And then we were driving down here. The wind again's continually from kind of northwest. And then I think it was around about here, around this spot, we're having problems with we had the Jenica up. Actually, maybe I think it was here, with the Jenica up, and there's a problem with the profile hooks and in connection with the Lorient mast. Both owned by the same company, by the way, this parent company. So the Jenica basically cut through, even though we have locks, so we've got to figure that one out when we get in. We lost the halyard for the Jenica, and therefore we can't put up the code 0. But we screened past Porto then, and this tack, you know, going southwest is a very fast tack. So we're screaming along. As you can see, our average speed is, you know, we're easily pulling off 200-mile days, you know, in the north of Lorient, it's incredible. It's just the J1, the Genoa, and the mainsail. If it was 5 knots and low wind speeds, we were beating the low wind speeds by 1 knot with just the J1 and the Genoa and the mainsail. It's just extraordinary performance. And although you know, you can obviously hammer this boat and really push it very hard. And you know, I've been on this boat, we've got 21 knots without really trying when we were in Lorient. But I think the real advantage of this boat is the fact that doing what we're doing now, you don't have to tire yourself out. You know, it's not like we're not racing. And sometimes, like, even if we put up the J3, so you have 3 jibs basically, the Genoa 2 jibs, let's say. So with the J3 and 2 reefs in the main, we're still getting extraordinary speeds, you know, like averaging 10, 11 knots when we wanted to relax. And I think that's really where this really shines, is, you know, when you want, you can absolutely gun it, but your average speeds all the time, in almost any conditions, as long as you've got if you've got 12 knots, you can expect to get about 11-12 knots of average speed. So you'll be planning for, you know, more relaxed weather. But again, like I said, even at 5 knots, we're doing 6 knots speed through the water. So I think there's just 3 of us on board, and I think Fernando's a professional captain. I'll leave his information in the description, and if you want to get in contact, he's one of my close friends, obviously. Eva, the 3 of us, we've adapted very quickly to the systems. There's only 3 of us on board, and when we're on watch, it really is no problem doing a drive, and even easier is a tack when we're on watch. And I'm really proud personally of how quickly Eva's adapted to the whole system, because, you know, it's obviously she's a much bigger girl. You know, the mast is bigger, the boom's bigger, and the reefing system, you know, would go up to the mast, because on these bigger boats, you would be better off to make sure that your reef is perfectly in, which is what we do. We put a piece of vinyl around the cringle and lock it in, much safer. And so just adapting to it, you realise when we're in here in the saloon and all nice and comfortable, it's much smarter to reef a bit earlier. And we've been very cautious with the reefs and when we do that. But yet we're still, almost every day, we're still smashing out, even with light winds, easily 200-mile days. And I think that's where this boat really shines. And a lot of the time, if we just want to get a breather as well, just get a bit of personal space, go onto the helm, switch off the autopilot, just helm a bit, and, you know, it's not that tiring on the helm. You know, the balance on the boat is excellent. So yeah, we're all really enjoying it. What do you reckon, crew? I'll take the camera and get these faces. Let me take the camera off you. Get these faces with. Let's see, we've got the boat in here, isn't it? Yeah. So how's the morale? How are you guys feeling now at the moment? How's the morale on board?
Cool.
Super good. Yeah.
Much better. Much better. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Fernando, you know, your supermodeling career isn't affected by the small cut, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good.
It's repairing.
I just have to call your guys, you know, for the next advertising. They have to put some makeup here.
That's right.
Yeah,
you'll be fine. Yeah, because one of the
I don't want to
fellas.
lose money in my
Absolutely.
career.
Well, it'll always been in your insurance. I know you've got the insurance on your face. But and Eva, how's it going? Feeling a little bit tired, a bit weary?
Yeah, fine. I'm cool. No tiredness, no. I think I can do a workout right now.
Yeah, you feel like a workout? Great. Well,
Okay.
absolutely. Going to join you for that one. Here in Almerimar, and this is one of my close friends. I have a lot of respect for Andy. I'm joking with him because there's many people that I curse when I'm at sea for having made more problems for me, but Andy is from No Limits Rigging, and I met Andy nearly 5 years ago here in Almerimar.
Correct, yeah.
And on Carry On, and we're in Apocalypse at the moment, and Andy helped basically just completely sort out all the little issues. There were some significant ones that I needed to sort out. Remember, commissioning a new boat takes a while, right? So on Carry On, you know, you'll remember there was the self-tacking jib actually was one thing that you couldn't really get the sail trim right on the self-tacker on Carry On. And Andy designed with Dyneema lashings and stuff so that we could get the sail trim on that self-tacking jib perfect. And there were some times, I can tell you, when I was crossing Morocco, getting the perfect sail trim for the right angle, I was just saying, God, I was so grateful to, you know, for Andy for what he did and how we set that up. But anyway, what we're here, there's a little bit of background noise, so apologies. Some people are having fun, right? It's summertime and having fun in the dock here in Almerimar, and it's roasting hot. So not quite as hot as Mexico. But Andy, I've actually deliberately sailed here with Apocalypse so that I could get Andy on board and to get his eyes on things. And in my opinion, he's the best. There is no one better. I've specifically sailed here to see Andy. And immediately, we've had some little issues with, for example, the way that the foresail halyards go in and out of the mast from Lorient. And what's different on Apocalypse from normal is that we have, stood on the winch there, but we have these very thin halyards, and all they do are really, yes, they're halyards, but they're just to take the foresail up, because we have locks basically, you know, a furling lock, and once you get it close enough, you just give it a yank and it engages. Well, what I've found is that some of the locks aren't just working as I would like, and they're not that obvious. But Andy, of course, has found out what the others couldn't, and what Andy's noticed is that some of the rigging isn't quite set up perfectly. So Andy, why don't you explain?
Well,
Tell me what you're doing.
what we're trying to do is we've got a serious amount of pre-bend on the mast. So every time we put in any of the foresails here, what's happening, to get the tension on, we're actually pre-bending the mast to maybe 200 millimeters, which is far too much. So what the plan is now, what we're going to do is we're going to actually bring back on the actual intermediates, straighten the mast a little bit, so when we do deploy these other furthers, we can still get the really high tension, but not bending the mast as much as that. That's the idea at the moment. We're still tweaking. We're having to play around. This is a high performance boat, so it's a lot of tweaking, but I think we're getting there. We're going in the right direction at the moment, which is good.
Yeah. So one of the things I just want to explain, when you get the right guy with good morals, what we could do is we could be cutting holes in the mast and speaking toing and froing between the reamer because, you know, we have different views on what's right and what's wrong. But Andy has basically found the right way, in our opinion. Sure, we have to still test it, but in this instance, he's actually saving me time and money doing it this way and doing it the right way. So although it might not appear at first the right thing to do, you know, you think you're saving money by doing everything yourself. Clearly, he's got a lot more experience than me, and he's a professional rigger, right? So the point is, we're not going to have chafed halyards as much. We're going to have not be doing any major structural designs to the mast, and also because we're in port, Andy's been up the top of the sail and watched while I engaged these locking mechanisms to get our head around really this quite cutting edge equipment and to make sure that it's working. Now, Andy, you sell profile stuff yourself. You think
Yeah, exactly.
you feel it?
The profile systems are really high up there. I mean, you're still paying a premium for them, but you do get what you pay for. It's a premium product basically. And it's been well proven. So with the Amoca 60s around the world, these guys are really pushing it all the time. So we know that the profile stuff works. It's just that we're just having a few teething problems, but we'll get there. We'll definitely get there.
Well, and that's again another point. We were talking about it while we've been doing this work. That the reason I chose profile for the kind of, let's call them the flying fellas, but even my J2 and the J3, so my let's say the storm jibs setups and the higher wind jibs. The reason I chose them is because the actual furling drum. So come on up, Andy, and we'll show everybody. So this is the furling drum from Profile, all right? And the reason I selected Profile over what was from the factory Carver was the wheel itself is bigger, all right? So that means it takes less effort because the wheel is bigger. You get more rotational torque, let's say, more torque force. And also, if I'm totally honest, I did a bit of research online and saw in the forums what everybody else enjoyed. And it's funny, I'm happy with myself that I've made the right decision because I come back to a man that I respect, and he's also of the same opinion. Sure, you pay a premium, but when you cut corners on things like this, you're going to end up. Yeah, it's exactly. It's going to cost you in the long run. You know, you're going to be chafing halyards. You're probably not going to use that nice sail that you'd spent the money for anyway. You know, you were thinking it was a good idea to buy it in the first place because you needed it, but because it's so much hassle to set up, you know, if you haven't got a good system, it's going to be a hassle to set up. So remember, these are quick release. You know, I'll see there's a little bit of tension in this one, but I can just very quickly remove this drum either from the bottom or the top, hoist it and drop it very quickly, and that means that you use these sails more and you get the better performance and you save time. And yeah, so that's basically what we're doing. And so we'll show. Andy's just going to put a bit more tension in some of the shrouds, let's say the stays, you know, on the port and starboard side. So I'll show you Andy doing that. So a lot of people say, you know, when I was in Lorient, you know, commissioning the boat and, you know, check up the rigging, a lot of this is just experience and feel. You can't, although there are pieces of equipment that you can measure within limits, it's one of those things, there's just no substitute for experience. And, you know, again, if you can understand, I'll try and show you from this side. So Andy's putting a bit more, you're actually loosening them, aren't you, Andy? Or tensioning these ones?
Yeah,
Tensioning these ones.
These have been tensions. We're trying to take a bit more pre-bend out of the mast,
Okay.
because obviously it intersects at the top there.
Yeah.
And at the moment, when they were off, they just felt a little bit too loose.
Right.
So ideally, next time we start to tension the furlers, we're going to be pulling against this, and we're not going to be bending the mast as much. So that's the idea. Like I said, we are tweaking, so we're going to have to play around a little bit, but yeah, like I said, we'll get there.
Sure. Super. Yeah. Thanks. So there you go. And I'll maybe try and see if I've got the skills with my editing skills to show you, you know, how what Andy's talking about. You know, one's relaxed and you put more tension in the other, and we'll try and make it a little bit more clear so that hopefully you can learn, like I'm learning, you know, how this is done right. Like I said, you really need somebody like Andy that's very skilled in the art of rigging, and that's what we're doing.
So from the lazy jacks to the top of the mast, we had one failure, and what it was generally the one that failed, we had the lashing through here,
Right.
and then as the rope came through, it was obviously cutting or whatever and causing it to actually break. So what we've done upstairs now, we've done the same actual anti-friction eye, but we've done it in this system where we wrap it round and tie it like this, so then the actual furling, the actual lazy jack goes through and then cannot actually touch anything apart from the ceramic eye.
Okay, so there's no chafe basically.
There's no chafe.
And that's how it was actually designed, but somebody's just, you know.
Again, this one is designed like this because it's a bigger ring, but it's also got this thinner line here.
Yes.
So that ring is correct, but these rings with this flange, high flange, is designed to do like this way.
Okay.
So that one's correct in its own right.
Right.
That one's correct, but this would be wrong
if he did it
that way on this eye.
I got you. So it's an easy mistake to make.
It's an easy mistake to make, and but even though we've just proved it's after a couple of months it failed, so and it shouldn't have. You know, so.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, obviously. So just to show you what's a little bit different, if Eva can pan around here. So what's a little bit abnormal about Apocalypse is we have the lazy jacks holding the boom up. All right. We don't have a topping lift at the moment, and there's a debate between myself and Andy. Do we think it's a good idea? We might even just add another halyard. So we have a bosun's halyard for sending Eva up the mast, or Andy in this instance, and we have the main halyard which lifts the mainsail up, but that's it at the moment. And then what holds the boom off the deck is the lazy jacks. And when we were on our way here, either my fault or nearly clearly now it's Andy showing that it's not actually, you know, when I put a lot of tension to hold the boom off on the lazy jacks, one of the lazy jacks snapped, so the boom was then falling on the deck. So yeah, just these things you see, like every boat. You know, the thing about Apocalypse, obviously she's cutting edge, and we've got a lot of cutting edge equipment, and you know, getting a head around some of the things is pretty important. But again, if you want to do it right, and you want somebody that, for me, obviously I can communicate great with Andy, and you know, we can test things with our own eyes, and you know, think through these problems together and find solutions. And this is the place to do it, and that's why I sailed here.
A few alterations today of the actual dagger boards. So we've got a little slight problem, but we've got over the first one already.
So we've done starboard side, and I think if I just show you, maybe the camera might be able to see down the side. But if you imagine there's a housing down the side, when we lift it up, we'll be able to show you maybe a little bit better. But there's Teflon, which is houses the dagger board to allow it to slide up and down. And the pulleys weren't quite aligned. And you know, when we were doing an inspection, as part of Andy's inspection of Apocalypse, we noticed there was a bit of chafe on the dagger board, you know, up and down, you know, the lines raising and lowering the dagger boards, certainly on the starboard side. So we investigated a bit further and found that actually, even with the already incredible upwind performance, I was actually only using the dagger boards. I had about another, what was it, 1.2 meters, isn't it, Andy?
We calculated 1.2, and we've actually gained another 1.4 meters in depth of what we've already done. So we think we're drawing nearly 3 meters now, whereas before we were only, like I said, 1.5 max.
And the performance was that we were obviously matching true wind speeds at 25 apparent already. So once we finish this, we're a little bit excited to see what actually the performance can be. We've looked at the dagger board charts, and it was 10 true for 100% dagger board, wasn't that right, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 true. Yeah, so anyway, listen, we're using the main halyard, just connected to the board, and we're raising the board up, and he's just using the jammer there just to lock it off for that's for the main halyard, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, she's free now, yeah. And basically Andy's just gonna raise this up. I'm gonna help him so that we don't scratch the board on the back and the front. But you can see it going up and down there quite clearly. So the dagger board's working, but the point is, because there's like a pulley on the side of the dagger board so that it can go up and down, just kind of, it's catching a little bit. Yeah, because of that, we just want to make a bit more space in the Teflon, the housing, let's say, to account for less chafe and also just to make it slide up and down easier.
Bites him.
Buddy. Jason's just using the compass here in a perfect location. We're just heading due south, directly south, hammering along. Gusts come in there.
So the gust pulled up right in there, didn't it?
Yeah. Feel the power, right? It's a good response.
Launch missiles.
It just feels like a fighter jet, basically, doesn't it? It's so responsive. It's the closest thing to a superbike on the ocean.
It's faster than the 50 wind now.
Yeah. Nicely above. That's a perfect point of sail there. There you go. It's 1.5, nearly 1.5 above wind speed. And we've just got the main sail and the J1 up. Working nicely. It's safer at night time.
You know, if you're really interested to learn more about what it is that myself and Bobby do, don't forget that we actually do offshore training on board Apocalypse, and you know, if that's something that you're interested in, you can catch me on sailingcarryon@gmail.com.